Hello everybody, this is Christian from Blue vs. Orange TCG here again with...
Matthew
here again. This time we're going to be going over our deck list, a bit of a tournament reports video this time around. This time the two of us are going to be going over the deck list that we ran in the most recent Alphatron Protocols tournament, the January Titan 1 event. Our matchups that we went over and just our overall thoughts on the deck. I'm really excited, so... to kind of just jump into it right away, I have my list, which happened to win the whole tournament. It is actually a Living Weapon Megatron list. That's right, Wave 1 Megatron.
That's what we wanted to see since Wave 1.
We wanted to see any Megatron win the tournament, honestly.
That's
like top 8
true.
anything.
Yep.
Like, when have we ever seen one? I think we saw one in PPG Dallas, like a Lord Megatron top 8.
I think so.
Yeah, that was like it.
That
was it.
Man.
Yeah, and we have ATP 1 to thank for that. So ATP 1 has a stratagem for Megatron called Such Heroic Nonsense, which is what I ran, of course, which for a star cost gives them extra +3 health, gets them up to 17 health, so Ranger Shockwave levels for 14 stars, makes sense. And then he also has the added ability where opponents cannot scrap weapons off of Living Weapon Megatron. Obviously, very strong ability, and it definitely it ended up helping out over the course of the game. For me, whenever I enter tournaments, I always love to try to play something new or different. For one, just kind of challenging myself to prove that like I can play multiple different types of deck lists in a tournament and do decently well. And two, I just love playing all the new stuff. Like between ATP 1 and ATP 2, there's so many different like combinations of decks and cards and lineups that you can play into a tournament. It's honestly astounding.
It really is, because like ATP 1 brought in, was it 6 or 7 stratagems?
11 stratagems.
Was it 11?
It was 11 stratagems.
It was 11 stratagems. But it brought up, even with just the 11 stratagems, it brought more than just 11 decks. Like, it just added to all these extra decks that you would never seen before.
It's true.
You know, so...
Yeah. Even, like, I think it just, like, rounded out deck building. Like, it pushed, like, the battle deck a little bit more. Like we're going to be talking about, like, in this list here. Like, this is actually an overwhelming advantage list. Because, you know, one of the big problems with OA before was, like, opponents could, like, easily disrupt your upgrade suite. Like, you needed to have the 3 upgrade suite stick. You needed, you know, your armor, your utility to constantly be there. With Living Weapon Megatron, being able to play a weapon in any of his upgrade slots in bot mode, and not having upgrades, or weapons, I should say, be scrapped from him by opponent's cards, that made the OA strategy a lot more consistent. And the suite for that is going to be like the Paralyzo box, which was the clutch, like one of the 2 clutch cards of this whole list, Combat Dagger and Backup Beam, getting you to 5 colors, getting you Bold 3 natively, and being able, and Megatron being able to flip from bot to alt mode to grab a weapon from the scrap. You just get to OA like really quickly. And
even if you don't get to OA, you still have Paralyzo box, so you just swing for big numbers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Paralyzo box beatdown was my secondary strategy, where you could fit 3 Paralyzo boxes onto Megatron. Take note that it's other than Handle Blast, it's my only weapon that I have a 3 of in here. I don't even have Grenade Launcher, because this is essentially a Grenade Launcher that sticks. If you have more than one of them, when you attack and your opponent flips the top card of your deck, that card does not change when you have to use the second Paralyzo box effect, because it's not flipping flip for battle. It's just flipping to C. So if you have 2 boxes or 2 or 3 boxes on there, and you miss the first color on the first trigger, you know exactly when the next color is. So you're just like, okay, blue, I guess, because I know what that is for the next 1 or 2. It just makes your Megatron such a menace. Like it kind of, like, in my opinion, makes the Megatron feel like what he was always kind of designed to be, like this overwhelming force that, like, if your opponent doesn't deal with them soon enough, you can just kind of wreck your face.
So did you ever have a moment where you were like, let's say you had 2 or 3 Paralyzo boxes on, and then you called, like, let's say you called orange, and they flipped and it was blue. Did you always, like, run through your head like, this is bad comedy, and then you, like, called out the card color?
I sure did.
Just thinking, like, you know, this is just, I'm gonna swing big anyway, so it doesn't matter.
I pretty much did, like, every single time. Because, I mean, like, you just felt so confident. Like, okay, I have 2 Paralyzo boxes, I'm at least +4. And if you hit, you're at least +8.
Man.
And with 3, you're +12.
Man.
That makes you base 19 as a swing.
I feel really sorry for anyone that went up against you.
I bet you did.
Yeah.
I guess just to brief over the list again, just real quick. So some of the key points that I played. Obviously, it's a very heavy mixed deck. I played the Brawn and the Night Racer. Specifically because there's not like a lot of great 6 drops that I could play. Even like, I guess I could have played Night Racer and like Stealth Mission to play like even the scores, but I just didn't think that was valuable enough to, as compared to the lo and behold the 1 fuel cache. for pips. I played it once in the tournament. I played it once in the finals, and it took because the nice thing about fuel cache is in the early game, if you have no weapons in the scrap to flip and grab with Megatron, you can play fuel cache and potentially dump weapons in the scrap, or just get a bunch of cards in your hand.
Sure.
Well, not only did I not get a bunch of cards in my hand, I also only flipped a handle blaster with my fuel cache. So I immediately hated that card again. Just absolutely hate that card. But it makes sense. It's like it makes the most sense. I wouldn't want Leap of Faith over this.
Right.
Going back to the two sub characters, the Brawn is really great because you're playing such a heavily mixed pip deck. You can swing without needing a weapon, and you can still get like a bunch of damage off just through his innate Pierce ability.
Mm-hmm.
Night Racer, she's not there for an attacker. She's there for like defensive support and like just being an extra Decepticon range character for my extra battle cards in no way.
Sure.
So I can put all my upgrades onto Megatron. So if I happen to go second, I can play an upgrade from my hand for a turn. I can play it on Megatron. Second turn, I can play another upgrade on Megatron. And when Megatron finally attacks, he can have 3 weapons on them already, and he's already suited up and ready to go.
Man.
Like he's kind of like a blue deck that, or it can be played as a blue deck that builds up to your main like Voltron character like really quickly and start dishing out damage really quickly. But he really struggles with survivability. Like he actually he rarely lives more than 3 or 4 attacks, honestly. That's by nature of me running such a mixed pip deck list. And also just like Belligerence is really heavy in the field. There's a lot of he does really poor against the really wide aggressive decks. There was like a Blaster in top 8 that I thankfully didn't get matched up against, or else he probably would have wrecked shop against me. Where the Megatron deck really shined was against like the really tall decks like blue decks.
Yeah.
3-by control.
Yep.
Combiners it did really well against. And it was thankfully like a good meta call because there was a lot of combiners and 3-by control in this tournament.
Mm-hmm.
As like a segue to that, my very first matchup was actually against fellow Minnesotan Psycho Smurf, Sup Micah. He was playing probably one of the coolest deck lists in the tournament, in my opinion. He was playing a Soundwave Quick list.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I heard about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Abusing like ISF to put, because you could put the Rumble in, triggers Rumble's ability to do 2, triggers Quake. He even played like erratic energy grenades in the list to like combo that more. It was disgusting. But I was able to take that one 2-0 again, just because it was like it was a matchup that Megatron really shined against.
Mm-hmm.
Like Soundwave is a very slow building control deck. I just was like, I'm just gonna put 3 weapons on him. I'm just gonna attack you for 20, and it's just kind of how the games honestly ended up. I just out aggroed him.
Mm-hmm.
Then there was the really great matchup, matchup 2 against you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I felt okay because I won my first matchup, so I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go against Christian. I've got a chance. I feel good.
Yeah, you did. I mean, we play tested, and it wasn't like a. It was a very 50-50 feeling matchup.
And we played it. I mean, we play tested Sound Blaster versus your Megatron deck.
We did.
So
yeah,
that's why I'm like, man, I got this in the bag. You know, I'm gonna show everybody up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And then I hit you with a Brainstorm Double OA game 1.
Yeah, you did.
It was a very fast game 1.
I was so pissed.
I was
so
bad.
I was like, man, I'm feeling good, and all of a sudden,
I'll hit your team for 30.
Just gone.
Yeah.
Obliterated.
I don't think we got to a wheel turn. It was one of those instances where
there was no wheel turn. I was dead before the wheel turn.
Yeah, I just had the upgrade suite already set and ready to go. Oh, hello, kitty. And not only that, but it's interesting because going into game 2, you took it.
I did.
The game 2, you took game 2. Like I think you actually took it like pretty handedly. Because you were able to go first. You swung with Fangry because you were playing Sound Blaster, Fangry, Night Racer.
Yep.
I just couldn't like gain momentum against you. You just always had like the upper hand in terms of damage, the damage race. I just couldn't get over that.
Yeah, it was good. As long as I always swung with Fangry first, it was a good matchup.
Yeah, especially going first.
Yeah.
But,
and then game 3, it was
down to the wire, honestly.
It was a much better. Yeah, it wasn't as the shout out as like a game 1 was or a blowout.
No. Yeah. Game 1 was like the rare occurrence. Then like the games 2 and 3 were like the actual like how the matchup feels like being played.
Yep. So no, that was good.
Yeah, it was like I remember that matchup very vividly because I got really lucky seeing a sturdy javelin because like I reshuffled my scrap and you had a character left at 2.
Oh.
And I needed a
shout
sturdy
out to
javelin.
Kreb.
Yeah, shout out to freaking Kreb, dude. Like, he was just going to wreck me, because I knew you were just going to get Fusion Board and pass it back to him.
Yep.
And so like I needed like Sturdy Javelin in my scrap, and I shuffled it like really early on. And so like I got lucky with like the previous flip getting the Sturdy Javelin in the scrap for me to flip and grab with Megatron. And that's just how it went in.
And after Kred was gone, I'm like, that's it. I couldn't. Yeah.
Well, I just had the wheel turn at that point.
That was it. It went from I lost control, and then that was so.
Yeah, those were fun games though.
I would much rather lose to a game 3. Trying just going through all the new motions and versus being sour and losing to like a game 1.
Absolutely, like losing like game 2, like getting 2-0 is fine. Like it happens, but it just feels better losing in game 3.
Yeah, it totally does. You just feel like you had a chance, you played really well, or it's just not a blowout like a 2-0 is.
It's just not a blowout, exactly. So that was matchup 2. Matchup 3, I went up against Jumty playing Driftwork cars, which was the Wheeljack, It Works Stratagem, Cliff Jumper, and Drift, which is actually the scariest matchup for me going into the tournament because like I knew that deck was going to be around. I knew it was like the worst possible matchup because he can swing really big going first into Megatron. Especially if he gets his field communication agency if he in beginning of turn, which he did, game 2. And then like Drift can attack untapped Decepticons, so being able to attack into the Megatron really early, it forced me to play like send the Megatron out earlier to deal damage, and it was one of those instances where like game 1 I took like pretty close. Game 2 he got me pretty handedly. And then game 3, I made just like a super questionable sideboard option because in practice against this deck, I actually sideboarded 2 tall into Soundwave, which is what you see in my sideboard here, the ATP 2 Soundwave. And I actually won a couple times in that matchup. I still wasn't like very great feeling. I tried that going into game 3 to see if I can like disrupt like the turn balance of like him being able to play a bunch of cards. He smoked me. It was like no chance in game 3. It was such a bad sideboard call. And I think even just like the Soundwave just wasn't like a good like sideboard character option, just because like there's a ton of cards that just don't work anymore. Like that I run like the Sturdy Javelins only don't work on Soundwave. Wedge Formation is only a plan with Soundwave because he's a specialist.
Yeah, I
have to side out all the combat daggers, all the OA, and it's just like it's such a big sideboard dependent like character. In this list, it just wasn't worth for me to play. Like maybe like in a non-OA list, I think he'd actually be worth like
for sure
the 2 tall with Lord.
You're dedicated so many cards just for OA itself.
You do.
Yeah.
So it didn't pander out that round. I was 2-1 going into round 4, but that's fine. I ended up playing against Scott Landis round 4, who was also playing Driftworks. Again, this one ended up a little bit better for me. Again, this is a really tough matchup. Really close 3 games. And by close, I mean super close. I only won game 3 because of a super lucky flip of getting a scout because I had Night Racer left and he had a pretty healthy Cliff Jumper left. Like at the end of game 3, I lucked out by grabbing a Scoundrel's Blaster, like the previous turn from the screen. Top decking a Belligerence. Flipping, swinging with the Belligerence, hitting a Hand Blaster and a white and 2 more blues.
Oh man!
To get me to exact to kill the Cliff Jumper and win the match. Like it was so like down to the wire close. Like it was that's a good game if it comes down to the wire like that. Yeah, it's a good game, but it also kind of ended like it feels kind of bad because like I needed the top deck Belligerence. And I killed him exact. Like it feels like a little bit of a crappy way to win, but we take those wins. What do you do?
Winning's winning.
Winning is winning. Exactly.
Yep.
You got to take what you can with Living Weapon Megatron, man.
I mean that's it, right?
Yeah. You got to take that. So going into round 5, I played against Richard Wyatt, who was playing a Soundwave Jazz Overkill deck. That deck is mean. That deck is really grindy, really solid. It's a fun deck to see. Like that match is actually on YouTube.
That was probably one of the funnest matches I've ever seen. I know a lot of people would probably back that up too. It was just it was. Wow, he's got control. Whoa, he's got control now. Who's gonna win? It was a fun match to play. I bet. Again, like every game just felt every match was like just like a really close game 3. It always ended up being. He mainboarded the Jazz, which even though I'm playing OA, like you would think is a bad matchup for me, because I don't have to go all into the OA strategy. I can like leverage the fact that all those black pips turn to whites and lean heavy into the Paralyzer Box Energon X beatdown strategy. Because I play a lot of oranges, and like the amount of times like I flipped like Metallicato on a Megatron swing, like, oh, that's now a white for me, so I'm gonna flip 2 more cards
and like see like 2 wedge formations and like, oh, I'm swinging for 21 all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Like the game, I played against Richard, round 5 in Swiss, and top 4. Just to jump ahead a little bit. Again, 3 close games every time, but like the game 1 for me playing Megatron always felt like I was just so much more in control than he was. Until he sideboarded out Jazz into freaking Fire Drive.
Oh, yes.
The Fire Drive Soundwave combo was ridiculous because he was playing the overkill. You flip overkill to bot mode, you flip Soundwave to bot mode, and he sides into 2 mission briefings. And he mission briefings for 3, like consistently. And the strategy ends up being like, it was really interesting because like most of the time you want to like swing Fire Drive in like first to get like that nice like, you know, expendable attack as a Battle Master.
Right.
He swings him in last. Like he actually like builds the game state to the point where like if you kill Fire Drive late game and you just have like 1 or 2 characters left, he's just gonna wipe you out because he has like a hand of like 12 to like 13 cards that he'll just dump to a Fire Drive attack and one shot you.
Yep.
Which he did in game 2.
Yep.
And then game 3, it was just like it was so down to the wire. We actually went at the time, and I took it by 1 health. 1 health is how I took that match. It was so close. Yeah, that was easily one of the funnest matches.
That's good.
The funnest match.
It was fun to watch.
Yeah, and then round 6, going into the final round, I played against another Minnesotan, Spencer, playing Dinobots. That one was also close. He ended up taking that one. I had I made a bit of a misplay, like drawing into a scouting mission, because like the Wii Fix stratagem for Sludge makes it so that if he takes any of his Dinobots take non-attack damage, he would heal 1. Well, I drew into scouting mission, like, oh, this isn't going to do anything. Forgetting that Sludge wasn't there anymore, and I needed to one-shot the Grimlock, so if I actually played the scouting mission, I probably would have got there.
Sure.
But I didn't. Missed by 2, and he was able to take the game. But, you know, that's okay. Going forward, too, my breakers got me into top 8 just fine. And then I was able to kind of continue on my path in the top 8 spot, playing Spencer again, ironically. I had to play him round 6, and then back again in top 8.
Back to back.
Back to back.
All right.
This one went a lot more in my favor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I leaned too heavily going into the OA strategy, I think, games 2 and 3 in the Swiss rounds. This time, I think I played my sideboard strategy a lot better, because my main strategy for the Living Weapon Megatron list is to really kind of aim for the OA game 1 if I can do it. Because it forces my opponents to respect the fact that I can OA pretty easily.
Respect my authority.
It does.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like if you don't like it's just scary. Like you just get there so easily with the Living Weapon OA strategy. But once I hit game 2 and 3, I almost always like sided out of OA completely.
Sure.
Like I would force them to like respect the fact that I had OA and to try to sideboard into strategies to kind of like stop OA.
Yep.
And then I would take out all the OAs and put in belligerences. To be like,
what a swine.
It's a bit of a swinish play. Yeah, I smoke screened out of OA. Like, nah, I'm not gonna play this anymore. And like people like that strategy really shines in the top 8 against Spencer.
Yeah. Because
he sided into a bunch of counter espionages and he called OA at least once or twice in going into game 2, because I took game 1 with an OA, of course.
Sure.
I think it was a double OA. Brainstorm with double OA, I think.
Oh man, it hurts.
Yeah, and he called OA and I just never had it because it wasn't in my deck anymore. And so I was able to just slowly bring his Dinobots down 1 by 1 with Megatron, just fully loaded up. Those were a lot better games for me. They were still really fun games. Well played to Spencer still. Getting to top 8, there's tough competitors in these tournaments. Yeah, it's always like just getting to top 8 always just like you feel like you've made it, honestly. Yeah, so that was the top 8 match. Top 4 was a rematch again against Richard Wyatt. Again. So like Richard already he lost to Stefan playing Menasor in the Swiss round, and he beat Stefan playing Menasor in top 8.
Oh man.
So he was going on this warpath to like beat down anyone he lost to in Swiss. So it was me next. This match was streamed. I'd highly recommend going to the ATP like Twitch channel to like watch that top 4 match, because it was crazy. It ended up playing very similarly, where game 1 I took control easily with him mainboarding Jazz. Game 2 it was really close, but he just blasted me away with the Fire Drive attack. Just can't do anything about it. And I had his overkill at 1 health left. And looking back, I think I could have actually won that game 2 if I sent Megatron in earlier than I did.
Sure.
And then game 3 was where it just kind of like really came down to the wire. Like again, it forced me. The Soundwave matchup is really interesting because I think like I have like a higher like percentage win rate against that matchup, but he just plays it so well, and he just draws into all the answers with Fire Drive and the mission briefings, and it's so crazy because you constantly have to think like, do I send Megatron in now or later? Because you have to kind of predict when he's going to point position and Brave Lock you out a little bit too. Like in that game 3, I actually like sent the Megatron in right away in the wheel turn into Soundwave.
Yes, remember that.
Yeah, yep. Like that's usually unheard of in blue decks. Like you always save that like that big guy attack at the end. I just went for it, and I was able to like bring the Soundwave down to 2 health left, which was basically my end goal, was either to kill him or bring him down to Sturdy Javelin range, because I had the Sturdy Javelin in the scrap pile. And he even Hollow Mattered, kind of trying to like outplay that. But I had the other key card in my whole deck, Take by Surprise, and I take by surprise the Hollow Matter away, and I had a Paralyzo box on one of my other characters, I'm pretty sure, and I knew what the card was because I take by surprised it, and it goes to the top of the deck, and it went much better in that one. But it still was like saying that, even though I got like the early Soundwave kill, it still was close.
It was.
Like, it was just ridiculous.
I think it was easy to like kind of be like, oh, it's just overkill, it's just a cassette. But man, he puts work in.
Yeah, they put work in. When you have 13 cards in hand and you just have like all the answers.
You do.
You have all the combat pumps. You have like 2 belligerences you can play at like every turn.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. So that was a very fun match. Very fun match. I highly recommend checking that one out. And then in the finals, being able to go into the finals was kind of like the funniest matchup actually, because it was 2 overwhelming advantage decks in the finals. It was the Megatron OA versus a Menasor OA.
Okay, I don't think I saw that one. So yeah.
That one was really cool. I'll have to show you that list in a little bit. He was playing like Matrix, Leadership, and Rollout to proc his like flip ability more. Yeah. And he played the backup beam, Crown, and Terrifying Resilience to get OA. But he only played one of it. He didn't lean super heavy into it.
Okay.
But that is like actually a deck that I think can also like do OA really well, because not only can you play OA, because you're Menasor, you can play 2 actions a turn. You could double OA easily without a Brainstorm. You can play OA, then play a secret action. You can play OA, then a pump to like kill guarantee kill 2 people at once.
Yeah.
It was scary.
A lot of value.
Yeah, there was a lot of like those games were really interesting. I was able to take that one 2-0. But those games are interesting because we both had to like respect each other's OA to a certain degree. Like I always had to find removal. Like I played 1 Bastion Shield on my list. I barely played it. But I played it a lot in this matchup because like anytime we had the resilience down, I'm just like, I just have to get rid of that.
Right.
Because I can't let you OA me. Like if I'm gonna whoever's gonna OA first kind of wins. Ironically, I don't think I OA'd at all that game. I think I started going for it, but then he like espionaged me and espionaged my OA away, and I'm like, okay, I can't go for this anymore.
Right.
So I swapped to like the Paralyzo box beat down, which is what the deck was designed to do. And then it was like another like lucky Night Racer swing to end the game. Night Racer stole so many games from people, it was ridiculous. With like a Paralyzer box and Metallicado to hit for 12, and it was just like exact again. It was dumb.
Wow. Yeah,
but then game 2 was a lot more like in my control. I was able to side into like lock-on lasers for the Menasor matchup. I got suited up really quickly. My Megatron did, and he just hit for like 20 like twice in a row. It was just like and he was still healthy. Like there just wasn't much like he kind of could do at that point. It was kind of brutal to watch, but it was a really fun tournament. Like everything like my matchup sounded like I played a lot of the same things a lot. I really didn't, because like the two Driftwork decks I played, their battle decks were drastically different. I only played 1 Menasor. I played against Soundwave twice, but it was the same person. I played against Sound Blaster. I played against a Soundwave Quake list. Even like going to like the top 8 and seeing like all the deck lists I was there, it was really, really interesting to see the diversity in that. And I think that's actually why this list like shined. Like in my tier list video, I mentioned that I think Megatron's like a rogue deck.
Yeah.
And I still think he is, because he's so easily counterable. No one was on Disarm. Very few people were on the Take by Surprise and Catch Off cards, because like those cards were mainly there for like the Wave 1 Jetfire, but he's not Type 1 legal.
Right.
So people were off that and really big on Sabarm. Sabarm started getting really popular. I think it's the 6th most played card in top 8. Sabarm does nothing against my deck. So it was like that, and that just helped my matchups even more. Like people weren't kind of prepared for it. I got disarmed once against Gempty, and that really sealed that game.
I was gonna say, I mean, a disarm, it sounds like it was the nail in the coffin.
It was so brutal to come back. It just killed all my tempo.
Yeah.
It was just disgusting. So like I think like that's why like this deck is still rogue in nature, because it's just like it's easy to just disrupt.
Yeah.
Completely disrupt.
Yep. I can see that.
Things I would change about the deck list. I really liked it. I really liked it. I want more defensive secret actions. Like I would play at least another 1 or 2 Sab Arms. I would definitely bump Take by Surprise to 3. I did not like... The Brainstorm was fine, but I just never got it off well enough. The Bashing Shield was fine. I didn't like the Energy Pack, honestly. Like I always like tried to keep the utility slot as the last like upgrade spot left for Megatron.
Mm-hmm.
It was alright, but it was never like amazing. Like I honestly wanted that to be like another Energon axe more than anything.
Sure.
And the Armed Hovercraft could probably go in the sideboard for another axe.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. The meta just like doesn't like currently just doesn't like vibe, especially Titan 1 just doesn't like need Armed Hovercraft very much. Except for like against Superion, and like it's still a great card when you have it.
Oh yeah.
But like overall, I can see it just kind of coming out. You know, but I thoroughly enjoyed playing this list here.
I would imagine so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Now going over to your list, this is what you ran for the Titan 1 event, Matthew. What'd you run?
It is. I called it the Thunderquack.
Thunderquack.
For those who maybe have recalled watching Darkwing Duck.
That's what it's from. I thought it was from DuckTales.
No, just because Sergeant Sound Blaster kind of looked like the Thunderquack if you have like one eye open and the other eye not looking at it right on. So
he does.
He kind of does.
He does.
So I ran Sound Blaster, Fangry Crab, Night Racer. I went with a orange black shell. And I was really trying to just obviously do what Sound Blaster does, you know, just grab a free weapon and go to town. Eventually, let's see here. I went 2 and 4, which I was okay with for playtesting the deck twice.
And like jumping in back into the tournament scene after like how long of a break?
Almost a year.
Was it a year? Or was it like 6 months? I think it was like 6 months because we played a bit when Wave 5 dropped.
That's true. Yep. Yeah. So I never played any tournaments really with Wave 5. We did the sealed event, you know, and stuff, but I never really did much after that. So it was a lot of like, you know, 2 days before the tournament is trying to read up on ATP 1, what are things doing, what are things not doing, stuff like that. It was kind of a crazy time, but I thought, well, what better time than just jump in and go for it and, you know, crash and burn, but then learn from it.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I went with Sound Blaster. My matchups were, my first matchup was like a blue/mixed dinos deck. I took that one. And after that, my second matchup was with Overwhelming Advantage Megatron, that we don't need to talk about.
Yeah, we know how that one went.
We know how that one went.
The jerk.
Oh, man.
Ban that guy.
Freaking Banhammer. Third matchup, I went up against Richard and his Soundwave Jazz Overkill deck. Well, I guess we all know about that one, too. You know, it was... I mean, Richard's a great player, so it was, I think... a better deck, better skill player set. It just I didn't have a chance. But it was,
I mean, you took it to game 3.
I did.
It was like a close game 3.
Yeah, you know. So, but I mean, looking back, it's like, oh man, these were a bunch of signs that I didn't see. Well, obviously, when you're playing the game,
yeah,
that could have helped you. But whatever, it's part of the game.
Part of learning.
It is. The fourth matchup, I went against a ATP Soundwave Pounce deck, which was really interesting. I felt like I lost that one too. Well, whatever.
Not one of the two you won.
Nope, it's not one of the two I won. But it was really interesting because I forgot how big Pounce can get near the end.
Mm-hmm.
And it just all of a sudden happened like, oh my gosh, this guy's huge and he's gonna, oh yeah, this happened, he killed me. So it made me respect Pounce again.
He was playing the stratagem, the infiltration, which
he
is
was
the one-time brainstorm for secret actions.
Yep. You know, so he would have like 3 secrets down, and it was just I'm gonna get polarized here because I'm gonna block whatever defense my character has on, and that's it.
And then he had the 3-4 secret actions down, so whatever you had left, you just couldn't do anything.
Oh yeah, it's like, well, you got the answer to everything I do, don't you? So it was, it was fun to see, it was fun to play against, but it was was not a win for me. That's all right. Next, I played a Mercenary with deck with Lockdown, Trigger Happy, Fangry. And that one, I felt like I was starting to get some headway with it. And then it just, Lockdown just became a beast.
Yeah.
Even and Fangry, aggro versus aggro, it's...
Yeah, like you already lost the die roll, which already put you at like that disadvantage in like position because you're both like 3-wide aggro.
Yep.
And so you just had like this awkward like back and forth, and usually who goes first tends to like just are so far ahead in the
really
race. And the deck was really interesting.
I watched
that gameplay you played. It was very interesting.
Yep. So it was a good deck. It was a great player.
Shout out to Mike. Always a nice guy.
Yeah.
Always a nice guy, that Mike, man.
Hopefully he got tacos.
I think he did.
Oh, good. That's what made it better. And then after that, I played a Soundwave Huffer Overkill deck, and then that one was my final win. So yeah, 2 and 4. I don't hate it. After my third match in, I would say my second match, I really started to see the faults with the deck for sure. There were some big faults, and if you're looking at the deck list, you could probably figure out that I don't really have any pumps for actions.
Yeah, just the fight for position and the belligerence, which you played you played against a decent amount of blue, so those were good. But like as an aggro deck, you just didn't have a whole lot of like oomph past your upgrades.
That was exactly it. I just kind of got to a certain point, and that was it. I really needed to push over, and I never really had that. So looking back, there were some things I'd totally change out if I were to play it again. Probably more aggressive, more of the standard aggro pumps and stuff like that.
Some supercharge, some reckless charge here.
Yeah, stuff like that to just, hey, I'm going to swing big for this one. Let's go for it.
Yeah, makes sense.
So, and I know looking back too, there were times where I wasn't sure who to, like I'd win the dice roll and I wasn't sure who to lead out with first.
Yeah.
Sometimes I actually led with my Night Racer, which was not the right call. In the matches where I won, I tend to send in Fangry right away, just for that first hit, with the Bolt 2 and stuff. So looking back, if I would have done that more, I maybe would have had a different outcome, but it's just part of getting back into the game and stuff, so.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the deck list is, like Sound Blaster as an aggro deck, especially in Type 1, is really interesting. Because because we kind of helped build this deck just a little bit together. Yeah. And when we were playtesting together, and one of the strengths of the deck was you got that almost like because you played a lot of orange decks.
I did.
And you always know if like your upgrade isn't a weapon, it feels like a failed turn almost.
It really does. It's like I don't want to play an armor or utility when I want to play a weapon and just swing. Yeah. That's the name of the game. So.
Yeah. Sound Blaster doesn't really have that problem though, because he gets the free weapon, and like in your list, you're running like 5 utilities, which is kind of unheard of in an aggro list.
It really is. Yeah. But being able to, you're just gonna grab a black weapon, Yeah. And that was the other thing too. I was trying to figure out was like, am I gonna grab a fusion bore? Am I gonna grab a crystal? I also I had 2 of those industrial grade phase charges. Yeah. I did not like those.
Did you not like those?
I really didn't. I could have easily gotten rid of the 2 of those and then ran 2 more RR Disruptor Blades. Yeah, I would have felt a lot better about it.
That's fair, because that would be kind of because that's the one where like you can pitch it for 3 and then you get another weapon. Yep. Yeah, but that turn could also be like used for like just playing the Disruptor Blade.
It would be, like I could just Night Racer's gonna get a +3. Yeah. Stuff like that.
Just felt so awkward.
A little bit,
Was there like a card that you said that you would say like stood out amongst like all your battle cards? Was like this always felt good.
Yeah,
like, this is a really
Bullseye
good
was always if I could play Bullseye, I felt like I just had more control. Yeah. To me, I loved that card.
Yeah, that card was insane. Every time I watched you play it, I'm like, oh my gosh, you just got Bullseye Aegis off. Yep. Like that card's so cool. You can play it because you run the Villainous, the Villainous Spotlight, because it's a star card. Yeah, I think that's because kind of going back to the idea of Sound Blaster as a deck of being like this aggro deck that has the freedom to play other upgrades, like these these defensive utilitarian upgrades. Bullseye Aegis every time you played it was so strong because you could force like you had crystal power as like a way to keep heat off of to kind of defend a little bit more of Sound Blaster.
Yep.
And then you could just like bullseye Aegis like you're almost dead Fangry.
Right.
To give them brave.
You know.
And then like sometimes they just live because they gave them an extra +1 defense, and then you still have the bold on top of it. Like that card was super clutch.
It was a great card. I always felt good when I played it.
Yeah.
You know, it was one of those cards.
So that wouldn't be a card you would see like changing in the main board at all?
No, I totally keep it for sure.
Sure.
Yep, it was just some of the other, I don't want to say piddly cards, but cards that, hey, this sounded good, like 3 Rock Tosses, where it's like, you know, I may have played Rock Toss once or twice because I could have, when I would have much rather played like a Supercharge or a Reckless Charge, something more, because that Rock Toss never killed anybody.
It
was just like
it mattered more, I imagine, when you sided into Horrible a little bit.
Yeah,
more.
you know, it got more value out of Horrible, but I only sided into Horrible, I think, once, and it just, you know,
still didn't get you there.
It didn't get me there. So, you know, there's some things where it's like, okay, you know, obviously this meta is different than, obviously, you know, Wave 4 meta that I last played and stuff. And
yeah.
So it's, you know, there's a little bit of that I had to take into consideration.
Yeah. The hit and run I thought was really cool, but I think, again, it's just like a card that just could have been like a Supercharge every time it was in your hand.
Yeah, and that was really left over from the previous Sound Blaster build I had with Thrust.
Yeah, that one.
You know, that was where initially I used Junk Cannon until we figured out that
doesn't work.
It doesn't work and stuff. But it was still, you know, grab a weapon with Sound Blaster, throw it on Thrust, tap Thrust, swing with Sound Blaster. I mean, you were doing some big damage.
It was kind of ridiculous.
You know, but it was such a fragile list that 1 or 2 hits and it was kind of...
It was done.
There goes. Yep. So, so some, I think Hit and Run was a leftover card from that. Like, do I want to keep it in? Do I not want to? It was very, I think, time specific. I may have used it once.
Yeah, if it was in your hands, like you had no other action to play.
That was it, and that was my biggest fault. Was of all the actions I could play, I didn't feel good about playing any of them. So
yeah,
like I say, I'll probably play Sound Blaster again in the future with a much different deck list.
Yeah,
you know, maybe not much different, but definitely some changes and stuff. So
yeah, like I said, I mean, I can definitely see this deck like thriving. Like I think it's gonna struggle against very specific matchups, but just having that flexibility, like this is a flexible aggro list.
Yeah,
and I think that it just has enough legs on its own to kind of get a push out there. Probably nothing higher than tier 2, but even and I think maybe you could kind of express feeling as this because like you always play, you love playing rogue decks.
I like playing rogue decks, yeah, and that really kind of goes into like who I am as a person too, outside of Transformers, just the weird obscure stuff and whatnot. And I really like Blaster, but to me I loved Blaster because it was such a linear deck. I didn't really have to think of like, do I do this? Do I do this? Do I do this?
Yeah.
It was
very simple play.
It was just you keep doing this and then you win or you lose.
Yeah.
You know, so to me Sound Blaster, even though it's not a control deck, was probably the next step in me being a control deck, just for the fact it was flexible.
Yeah.
I had options.
Yeah, it was a non-linear aggro deck.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me that was still something pretty new, you know. Trying to learn all that, so
it was a good dip to kind of feel out like the new custom set for ATP, right? Because you never played with any of those cards.
It was. I mean, it was a lot. It was playing with new ATP cards. It was playing with webcams. It was playing through Discord.
Yeah.
There's so much new stuff going on that my first match, even though I won, I was a wreck. I mean, I was like shaking. I'm like, what is my name? Where am I? I was a mess.
The adrenaline is just flowing, right?
It was, yeah, because it's like, did I do something wrong? Did I forget this? I mean, there's just so many emotions and thoughts, and it was a lot.
Yeah,
you know,
I can relate. The first time I played a webcam game, it was nerve wracking. Like I'm playing with this random stranger,
right?
That I've never met before.
Yep.
They can't see my face. You know, am I doing the etiquette right? Is there something I'm not doing? Am I like offending someone by like not doing something right?
It's just all these crazy things, you know. But by the end of the tournament, I was super comfortable. Yeah. It was just like, oh, we're doing this right now, no big deal, let's go. And it was,
let's do it.
It was great.
Yeah,
great time.
It was. Do you think you'll play him more in the future?
Absolutely.
That's what I like to hear.
You know, even if it's, and like I've always liked to play with, just for the fact of, you know, getting to meet other people and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So to me, that's always been a big thing.
Yeah. There's I can speak at least from that point of view. I've met so many great people from these tournaments.
Yeah.
Just alone. You know, so if your goal is to come and play the game to meet new people, then this is a great time to do that for sure.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
You know, it really is.
Well, that's all I have to say. Is there anything else you have to say then?
I'm looking forward to the next tournament for sure.
Yeah. I am as well. That's the invitational. You got your invite. You got your invite from this last tournament.
I did. I worked really hard for it.
You sure did. Going 2 and 4, get that pass down.
Absolutely.
Yep, but that's okay because you get to play with me in the invitational.
Yep.
Yeah,
yep.
I'm gonna be excited to see what you brew up for that, and I'm curious to see. I'm still not quite sure what I'm playing for that, but we'll see.
I have a couple ideas.
Yeah.
You know, all of which I've never played before. So
that's the way to do it. That's the way. You just have to jump right into it.
Yep. That's it.
Well, guys, I hope you really enjoyed listening to this video. We really enjoyed doing this. We'll probably do more tournament reports like this in the future every time we do a tournament together, just to go over our deck lists, our matchups, you know, and what you saw in this video. If you guys have any other questions for us, please leave them in the comment section below. And as always, please have a great day. Adios, folks.
Bye.